explain is simply doing my job. But it's important that the truth be shared about the abuse, the harassment, the retaliation, and the hostile work environment that both I and other staff and board members have had to endure since Director Varney and Director Joyce Sunnison were seated on this board. This will give context to the complaints regarding my actions. I'll start with the number of emails I received from board members. Since he's been on the board, Director Varney has sent over 150 emails to me on various occasions. This is over 5 times more than President Villa, the next closest board member. And many of her emails are likely proxy emails at the behest of Director Varney. Director Varney doesn't understand that I work for the board as a whole and not for him individually. And he has demanded in his emails that I do something for him that the board has not authorized. Next are the performance evaluations. My contract calls for annual performance evaluations. In my first 3 years of employment, I received 3 performance evaluations. One of the first actions Director Varney proposed was to water down the district bylaws so that a minority could put whatever they wanted on the board agenda. He then used that power to place a performance review of the general manager on 6 different agendas over the past 4 months, culminating with tonight's item, which includes the possibility of discipline or termination. This is clear harassment. It's also no coincidence that my evaluation tonight was again placed on the agenda 1 meeting after the notice of violation regarding Director Joyce Sunnison was placed on the agenda. This is clear retaliation. And then there's the well-documented anger and personality issues with Director Varney. One of our own board members was stalked and angrily confronted by Director Varney after a board meeting. This frightened her so much that she filed for a restraining order. Unfortunately, this is par for the course with Director Varney. I'll share the following accounts of similar behavior from previous political positions and campaigns. This was from the Santa Maria Times. To the editor, every 4 years, another false prophet seems to come out of the woodwork telling the people of this community how terrible our city is administered. According to the same tiresome pattern, Charles Varney has been making wild, baseless charges of problems which do not exist in an attempt to make issues out of thin air. Also, following the pattern of most demagogues, he attempts to shield his own warped personal agenda from the public by denying things that are a matter of public record. Extremism appears to be his personal credo, and anyone who takes the time to examine his blatant false statements is not fooled. According to published articles in both the Santa Barbara News Press and Santa Maria Times earlier this month, Varney was the leader in raising funds for the city council election. In these same articles, he also denied accepting funds from the Earth Day Coalition. Public records on file with the city clerk reveal that Varney's largest contributor is Carl Samuelson, who just happens to be the guiding light of the local Earth Day Coalition. When you couple an environmental extremist to a frustrated sociology professor who prefers to see the world as he thinks it ought to be rather than how it really is, disaster is not far away. This came from C. Clayton Kyle on October 27, 1992. This could have been written yesterday. Another article in the Santa Maria Times, written by Eric Firpo. At Thursday night's meeting of the Santa Maria Valley Water Conservation District, Director Charles Varney may have felt like the bullseye in the center of a dartboard. Over the course of 3 hours, Varney was insulted by the audience, flipped off by staff when he wasn't looking, yelled at by fellow board members, and lost his temper more than once in what several called the nastiest board meeting in recent memory. I didn't know whether to wear a clown outfit or a referee's whistle, said District Secretary Debbie Askew. Well, evidently, Director Varney has brought the circus to Oceano. "Who are you, pal?" a furious red-faced Varney shot back. "I resent the insults from the audience." Later, debate heated up between Rice and Varney, who once again lost his temper over a discussion regarding a financial reimbursement policy. "You're trying to milk it for all it's worth," Rice charged with a raised voice. "I'm not trying to milk it for all it's worth," yelled a then angry Varney, still visibly upset about the fight with Freitas. So Mr. Varney's anger issues were apparent back on September 19th, 1998. And finally, on a Santa Maria Times of April 26, 2000, there was a vacant seat in the Santa Maria Valley Water Conservation District. And in this article about filling that vacant seat, it called Director Varney an oft-hated director. And it said, "Anyway, it's possible the Water Board may have to do business for quite a while with its members, with 6 members instead of 7. What that means is that where directors can agree, most votes on the board will be 6-0 instead of 7-0. And when there's a disagreement, that'll change to 5-1 against Varney instead of 6-1 against him." So again, a pattern of unreasonableness, those anger issues, and these articles clearly show that his pattern of anger is continued today. It's with this context that my reactions can be understood. Director Varney angrily made baseless and unfactual accusations against myself, my staff, and our legal firm of covering up criminal activity. That's why I strongly defended myself, my staff, and our legal firm against this false narrative. It's Director Varney and Director Joyce Sunnison who need to be disciplined or terminated, not the general manager. I urge your board to censure both directors for their actions and strip them of any committee assignments. Unfortunately, these actions are the only real consequences available to the board until the next election. Thank you.